All right, guys, a fun video today. We are doing a player tier list for the 2024 Texas A&M Aggies. That's right. We're going to split the players up into 5 different tiers just to kind of get a gauge for where they're at going into the year, at least as far as, well, how I feel and how we've kind of discussed on this channel the whole offseason, gotten feels for guys over the course of this fall camp that, yeah, has been really tight-lipped, but we're going to do our best and try to categorize these players. So let's get right into it. I'm going to show you exactly what we're working with, and if you guys could like and subscribe, that would help greatly. Let's check it out. So we have 5 categories here. The top category, MVP/superstar. Now we're going to be super strict with that category. That's where we're going to project our best 2 players on each side of the ball. We're going to stick to the old NCAA 14 rules where you had 2 impact players on each side. And we're going to use that same style of structure here for this top list. So very elite category, the best of the best, team captains / best players on your team category. Elite are players that have NFL potential. I mean, top end. These are the best of the best. This should not be a list that has the most amount of players on it for a team like A&M right now. But we're hoping that a lot of players could end up in this list by year's end. Because obviously, you lose a lot of elite players to the draft. I would say McKinley Jackson and Edgerrin Cooper were 2 players that would have been under elite. They're gone. And that's kind of how that goes. You lose those elite players to the draft. So think of that as kind of the framework for that elite category. Consistent producer are players that you're happy to have on the field. They don't hurt you. They're good. They do their job. Maybe they're not top-end players, but they're consistent. Prove-it players are players that we're banking on taking a step this year or need to show something further in their college career. This could be a young guy. This could be an older guy stepping into a bigger role. It'll make a lot more sense when we start putting names in there. And then finally, newcomer / potential breakout. And that doesn't have to be a freshman. That could be a new player to the team from the portal. That could be a player stepping into a bigger role. It's a player that can jump into either the elite or consistent producer category by year's end. But all right, guys, you see the faces down there. I will say before we get into it, this is not a comprehensive list of players. I picked about 35 of players that I found interesting. I couldn't fit them all into this video or else the video would be way too long. So if someone's not on here, feel free to comment and ask where I would put them. All right, guys, let's kind of just go in order because they're kind of randomized right now. For whatever reason, they randomly got selected and thrown in there. So I think I'm going to go in order here. So right here, Amari Daniels, obviously stepping into a big role this year, being the clear RB2 in what they're calling the stable. Look, I've already said I think he has breakout potential. I think he's a player that can take a big step this year. But I think he's kind of capped because I think we're really looking at Le'Veon Moss to be that bell cow. So I already feel pretty good about Amari. He needs to work on some fumbling issues. Hopefully a better offensive line will help with that. At least in the case of the Miami fumble, he should not have been getting hit like that where he was. I'm going to go ahead and put him in the consistent producer category. He was our leading rusher last year. He had almost 700 all-purpose yards. I would like a year where he gets close to 900 all-purpose yards. He's just a useful, well-disciplined, just a good player, just a positive on the field. I don't need him to be an elite player. There's someone else we want to be in that category. Not DJ Hicks. Albert Regis. I'm going off their faces here. This is a good lesson if you're going to make one of these. And by the way, I have the link to build this exact tier in the description below. So if you want to do this and tag me on X on it, do that because y'all can all do this too. But this is a really good lesson on learning the players' faces is doing this because there's no name attached to them. But this is Albert Regis right here. Obviously, he is stepping into a major role this year. Albert Regis is a guy that we've seen, I would say, consistently irregularly for the last couple of years. He's played, not really a down-to-down guy. I'd say he's gotten his spell drives every now and then, showed some really good moments, showed some moments where he's gotten blocked and not been able to, occupy double teams. But by reports, he's had an amazing offseason. The players, the coaches, they rave about him. And I think he's a consistent producer for this team this year. I think he's a mainstay. I think he's a guy you're going to see get a lot of reps per game. He's going to be part of that spell group on the inside. He's going to probably start next to the Shamars and Nick Scorton. Consistent producer in Albert Regis. Now right here, we have our Maj Reed Adams, the transfer out of Kansas. We've talked about him. We know he has a starting job on the line right now, and in fact, it looks like he's trending towards starting. He's drawn rave reviews since he got here. Players have talked about him. Coaches have talked about him. And it sounds like for the duration of fall camp, the coaches want to start him, whether it's at right guard or right tackle. I could put him in newcomer / potential breakout, but I really think he's already going to be a consistent player for this team. I think he's one of the steady rocks that they're building this O-line around right now. I think he's one of those players that they have to have on the field. So there you go. One consistent O-lineman there. Let's see if we can get a few more in there because that would make us feel pretty good about the year. Here's one that I'm really high on. Bryce Anderson, moving back to his natural position of safety. Played nickel last year, damn good at nickel, but now he's lightened up a little bit, going to be more out in coverage, more against receivers, playing either free or strong safety. We don't know yet where he's going to be relative next to either probably Dalton Brooks, potentially Trey Jones. Despite where he plays, I think we're going to see another level for Bryce Anderson this year. First of all, just maturity, growing up, junior year, money year. Second of all, natural position. Third of all, playing under Mike Elko, who's one of the best DB coaches in the country. I am tempted to put him in the MVP superstar category. I think he has that upside this year. Let's put him in elite for now. But he has potential to be bumped up here. I really have the utmost respect and the highest expectations for Bryce Anderson this year. So we're going to keep him at elite for now. Let's see how the rest of the thing shakes out because, like I said, only 2 players per side of the ball get to go in here at most. So that might be occupied by a couple other players. I think you know who I'm talking about. All right, this is a face you guys got to learn. This is Cyrus Allen. That's what he looks like. That's Cyrus Allen. Yep, Law Tech transfer, playing receiver. Sounds like he's locked up that wide receiver 4 spot or maybe the starting slot spot. It sounds like he has to play, and I think that was the goal of getting somebody like this with 700 yards of production, really good yards per catch. I think he was close to 20 yards per catch last year at Law Tech. Could be a really important player for A&M in a receiver room that is begging for some consistency. He has potential, breakout potential for this team. I don't know if he comes in and he's a consistent producer. I think there was, in spring, it was evident that there was still a learning curve that needed to happen, but you can say that for about almost everybody on offense in spring. I want to put him here. I want to put him in a consistent producer category, but I think there's still a floor to his game coming from La Tech that I'm going to give him that potential here. I'm not ready to put him here where this is kind of my projections, and I'm not ready to put my projection. I'm not ready to put him on the line here for my projection. I want to put him here more of a safer slot for him. I think that, like I said, there's still a lower floor to a player coming from there, but I have really, really high hopes. So Cyrus Allen, newcomer, breakout potential. Chase Basantis has a lot to prove this year. You know, he was highly touted recruit, coming out of New Jersey, I believe. Hit the portal, one of the top 10 players in the portal, comes back to A&M, moves back to his natural position of guard that we saw him play late last year. Looked a lot better. By reports, he looks amazing in camp in that position. His natural position at 6'5", like 315. Strong player, growing player. He has a lot to prove, but I am feeling so good about him. I'm putting him as a consistent producer this year. That's my confidence level for Chase Basantis. I don't have many doubts about Chase at left guard. That's just me here. I could be wrong, but I'm comfortable enough to say that he's going to be here, and this has more of a floor here at Prove It. I think there's more of a chance they hit the floor, more of like kind of a sleeper player or a make or miss player. I'm banking on Basantis to be that guy. I'm not putting him at elite yet, although he has that upside. There's a chance Basantis is elite this year. Don't get me wrong. Just because he's here doesn't mean he can't move up. But I have Chase Basantis as a consistent producer this year. You can bank on that, and that's what I'm saying. This is Cassius Howell. Learn his face. That's what he looks like. Cassius Howell is going to play a very, very important role on this team this year. Think about Tyree Johnson in 2021. Come in on third down, out there with Clemens and Leal on that pass rush package. Just wreaked havoc on those pin your ears back and go plays. That's exactly what Cassius Howell is going to do under Elko this year. And I think within his role, within Cassius Howell's role of third down playmaker, I believe he's going to be elite. I think Cassius Howell is going to turn some heads this year. Led the MAC in sacks, perfect build. That size has to translate to the SEC. That speed and explosiveness has to transfer to the SEC. I'm banking on him to be an elite player. Now, he's elite, but he's not a down-to-down player. He's a specialist, right? So he's an elite, and just because you have another guy in elite doesn't make your team that much better overall. But to have this weapon in this kind of scenario is very, very important for this team. You have some really good passing teams coming to College Station this year. Texas, LSU, Missouri. By reports, Notre Dame's having a pretty good camp passing the football. It's going to be important to have an amazing pass rush player off the bench, fresh, to complement the guys that you know you're already banking on at the top of that rotation. Cassius Howell, you're in the elite category. Get in there, bud. Who's this guy? Anybody recognize this cat right here? That's Connor Wigman. He's back. We know. We've talked about him a lot. Guys, there's a lot of uncertainty about this offense, in my opinion. A lot of things that need to shake out, mostly in the consistency department with the receivers, in the offensive line too. Rebuilding the offensive line, the shuffle, learning the new playbook, much bigger learning curve than on defense. A lot of things that are kind of scary. But the one thing that makes you feel confident about this offense this year, despite the outside of upside, I mean, obviously there's upside to the offense. It's not all bad. There's a world where it pans out. But the one stabilizing force on this offense is Connor freaking Wigman, and he's my MVP superstar #1 on this tier list. He's the guy, and I've been saying this, if he's healthy, you're talking about a top 3 SEC quarterback. If he's healthy, he's in the Heisman conversation. Maybe he's top 10. He's not necessarily in New York, but he's that kind of a player, guys. That's how I feel about Connor Wigman. That's how I think you should feel about Connor Wigman. And I think that's how the country kind of wants to feel about him. A lot of the national talking heads. I'm not talking about Twitter. I'm talking about people that know football and like know what they're talking about. They're high on Connor Wigman. He has to be that guy. He is that guy. As long as he plays, he's him. He's my one of 2 offensive MVP superstars. Now we talk about Dalton Brooks. Back to the defense. Player I'm high on. Player that the coaches are speaking glowingly of. Player that the coaches have talked about since spring. Player that looked good in the bowl game. Player that's grown 15 pounds since the start of last season. I'm tempted to put him in elite because that's a prediction, obviously. We haven't seen that yet. But I'm damn positive he's going to be a consistent producer. There's elite upside this year for Dalton Brooks, guys. There really is. We could have a lethal combo at safety this year in these 2 gentlemen right here. Could not be more high on Dalton Brooks. Give Dalton Brooks a good chance to be elite, consistent producer for now. Same thing could be said about Chase Basantis. That's how I feel about these 2 guys, and I think this safety duo right here, this defense, man, I can't tell you how excited I am. This is going to be a long video. I'm realizing this is taking a while. Are y'all going to sit through this? It's fun. Do it yourself while we're going through this. This is taking longer than I thought. I'm enjoying this. I could have done this live, but hey, whatever. All right, this is an interesting one. DJ Hicks, a guy a lot of people are high on. He has the high school tape. He has elite size and athleticism. But he wasn't necessarily consistent last year, both in playing time and in performance when he was on the field. It's been documented. I've said it on this channel anyway. He had moments where he was pretty easily washed away, getting blocked, and that could just be a freshman in the SEC. A freshman versus an O-lineman of men, that Oklahoma State game. He had some good moments in that game, but he also had some bad moments in that game. Their O-line was all seniors, and they're all back this year for like their red shirt, COVID, whatever years this year. So Oklahoma State, don't fully judge them on that. I'm going to call it a prove-it year for DJ Hicks. I think he still has a lot more to show, in my opinion. Right now, we're banking on him as this 5-star behemoth, athlete, freak. He needs to show it to me. He can, and he's damn going to get that opportunity. And he'll have a hell of a time doing it next to the people around him. Shamars, Scorton. But he has to prove it. And honestly, there's elite to superstar potential in there. We know it. But I got to see it. So, DJ Hicks, you're my first prove-it player on the season. All right, Damian Sanford, a name that's been kind of picking up steam over the offseason and in camp. Dude in the center of this outside linebacker battle. Honestly, there's elite upside to him. I don't think that's this year, but I think there's a consistent producer within him this year. I think that can happen, but we haven't seen it yet at all. He's grown. He's put on like 35 pounds since high school, since senior year of high school. He's athletic. He's big. He complements Torrin York really well. Torrin York's not up here yet. I think there's breakout potential for Damian Sanford. I don't think he's the game 1 starter, but he could be getting a majority of the reps by year's end. He has that upside. Scooby Williams does too. Solomon DeShields has some really good play too. So I think this linebacker room is going to be really good, guys, even without edge. And you get Torian back as a stabilizer, as an elite player in his own right. Ooh, was that a spoiler? As an elite player in his own right. Damian Sanford has some breakout potential this year, guys. Not in a starting role early on, I don't believe. And if he does, damn. He beats out Scooby Williams and Solomon DeShields. That is a major, major indicator of what's to come. But I don't think he does. I think those guys hold him off. But I think he could be getting a good amount of the reps by the time the year shakes out. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. Who are you, man? Who are you? First fully healthy camp, I believe. Didn't end the season or didn't have spring healthy last year. Just very, very troublesome early college career. Athletic specimen. Bateman keeps calling him $1 million. Looks like $1 million, but he's still working on consistency just from not playing football over the last 2 years. You got to remember, guys, these guys spend like a third of the year playing football on the field. They're not out there that often. And when they are out there, it's like 2.5 to 3 hour practice sessions. And they're young. They don't have that much football behind them at this level. These are young players. And if you're missing chunks of your young career practicing or playing, that's a lot of catching up to do, a lot of experience to gain. He has a lot to prove. But he has this upside up here. He has that in his body, but can he get there? Can he find consistency? He has a lot to prove. I'd love to see him here this year. I'd love to see him as a consistent producer off the bench. DJ Hicks has a lot. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy has a lot to work with, and there's a lot to like about him, but he's got to find it. All right, this guy's always forgotten in discussions. Bateman brought him up in the first presser. This is Josh Celisar. By the way, learn his face. That's what he looks like. That's Josh Celisar right there. Yep, that's him. This guy's a consistent producer this year. 2-year team captain from UCF. 44 and 48 tackles each of the last 2 years. A menace at strong side defensive end. He's going to be a key substitute, and he can be moved inside, according to Jay Bateman, where I think you need probably the most work inside. You need to have like the most options inside because you're feeling so good about that defensive end room and Shamar Turner. It's nice to have this option right here. It's really nice to have this versatile option. He's going to play a key role this year as a quality depth guy. It's a guy you're very glad to have. A kind of player that upperclassman off the bench that championship teams have. I'm not saying we are, but that's the kind of guy you need. That's huge. Josh Celisar off the bench is massive for this team. Jaden Hill. Bad Florida defense last year, but Bateman, Spencer, Elko were confident enough to bring him along. Bateman has spoken quite highly of Jaden Hill in his time here. He's probably going to play nickel. I don't know if he starts or he backs up Tyreek Chappelle. Right now, if I had to bet, it sounds like Tyreek is trending to starting at nickel. But coming from that Florida team as a newbie here, I think he has a lot to prove. This guy can be just like that Josh Celisar kind of player. Upperclassman, leader, depth, floor raising, key backup role. But this DB room, is he really a backup? They're going to split reps it's such a high degree. But he has a lot to prove, I think, coming from Florida and coming into the program. But I think he could be an elite, consistent producer. Let's see it, though. I need to learn about this guy, too. Javen Thomas is a guy who just won't go away. He just won't go away. I'm talking about a true sophomore now. Started last year. Got burned a lot last year. But he brought kind of like prototype corner measurables to the room. At 6 foot 195, super athletic player. A player that can match up with most of the SEC receivers. He has continued to stay in the discussion for playing time in this now very, very deep and competitive DB room. He has a lot to prove, but I think he's going to be a producer this year. I think Javen Thomas, he just won't go away, and people keep mentioning him, and I think there's something behind it. I think he's right here, and he's playing a key backup role this season. He's not a starter. I don't think he'll get a majority of reps. I think he's a key backup role. He's consistent in his role. I'm predicting that for Javen Thomas right now. He just won't go away. The fact that coaches are going out of their way to keep mentioning him despite the battles going on, I think it's telling. Ja'Day Walker. Ja'Day all day. Ja'Day dance away. Hell yeah. That's what Ja'Day looks like. You should know by now, but that's what he looks like. One of a fan favorite right now, right? Like, we love Ja'Day Walker. Just his downfield blocking, his energy, his passion. 3.7 GPA. What the hell, man? Damn. Congrats, Ja'Day. That's pretty badass. Yeah, he was very proud of that in that little video that came out from the socials from Picture Day. Ja'Day Walker ended the season on fire. I think he ended with 4 consecutive 80-plus yard games. Clearly the wide receiver one down the stretch. Became consistent down the stretch. And I could put him here in the consistent producer because I think that's kind of what he'll be this year. But I think he could be even more than that. And I want him to prove that he can be up here. I think he could be up here. So if I put him in prove it, that kind of brings him down a notch. I guess I'll put him in consistent producer. But I really want Jade to be this guy. Underrated speed. Apparently the hands have improved. Intangibles, downfield blocking, leadership qualities, camaraderie kind of guy. Good vibes guy. He's here, man, but I think he could be here. Let's say he's a consistent producer here. I think he's, I don't know. He wasn't consistent through the duration of last year, right? I'm thinking on the fly here. I didn't plan this video. We're doing this together. Like, he wasn't consistent until down the stretch last year, right? Because he had a drop problem. He had a route running problem. I remember versus Auburn, he ran the wrong route, had a couple drops. Didn't play in the Arkansas or Bama game, I don't think. I think he got benched for a few games. Kind of started to get back in the swing of things down the stretch, and he was the best receiver down the stretch. You know what? I want to put him in prove it. I think he could be here, though. I just think he needs to prove that that consistency at the end of the year was real. The drop problem is gone. The assignment issues are gone. Prove that you're that guy, because I think you could be this guy. All right? Is that fair? Am I being unfair to Jade? You guys tell me. Oh, man, we're going receiver heavy now. Here's Moose Muhammad, guys. This is a guy who could be here, but sometimes he's here, and sometimes he's here, and sometimes he's here, and sometimes he's off the list. Can he just stay in one section for long enough? We know he has this in him. He has the elite playmaker in him. He has the off-script, crazy shit that some of these players have. Obviously approve it, right? Obviously approve it. Is it fair to have Jade and Moose under prove it? Oh, I think so. We didn't see an elite stretch from him. Just, I guess the last 4 games is kind of elite. I might change this later. But yeah, Moose has a lot to prove. He has to prove that what he does occasionally can be what he does always. But the sleeves are on this year, so let's see what happens. This guy could go right here. I've been high on Le'Veon Moss for 2 years now. Jimbo has told us when he was Jimbo's guy, Jimbo's recruit. Jimbo was telling us that this guy is the truth. And, you know, Jimbo was a pretty good running back coach. Got to give him that. I think there's a world where this is a 1,400 yard SEC back as a bell cow, as a clear running back one. I think he gets a lion's share of the load. Amari gets some of them too. He should be in the elite status, but can he stay healthy? I think he's an elite running back, but can he prove that he's healthy? So I'm putting Le'Veon, begrudgingly, in the prove it category with this upside for sure. I mean, these 3 guys right here could be in this elite status. They have to prove it. They have to find consistency for a whole year. They haven't done that yet. Nick Scorton, baby. He has to prove it. Yeah, right. He's going to the MVP superstar. So you lose Nolan. You lose Overton. You lose Diggs. But you still got better. You still got a better single player than all of those guys in Nick Scorton. A one-man wrecking crew. I mean, this guy could go down as like the Myles Garrett kind of defensive end. I'm blanking on names here. I'm looking at his face. The elite defensive end category. He could go down as a historic Aggie. This guy could rack up 12 sacks this year. He could just win all of his one-on-ones. He could be an absolute menace going into his junior year. Right now, as you're watching this video, unless you're watching this after the season started, he's 19 years old. So he has a lot more to gain and learn and get better with, and he's done that this offseason. This guy could be an absolute menace this year, and I think he will be. So he is my first MVP/superstar on the defense. Amazing get. Already on some preseason All-American lists. Already top 10 on next year's draft boards to some. He's that guy. Noah Thomas. Man, he has something to prove, right? Noah Thomas has a lot to prove this year. So I've talked about this. During spring, I thought it was clear that Colin Klein wants Noah Thomas to be wide receiver 1. And if he had to bank on one wide receiver to pan out this season, I think he would bet the most money on Noah Thomas. And because of that, and because I feel the same way, and his talent, and what coaches have said about this guy, I'm putting him in the elite category. That's a projection. I'm putting my reputation on the line. I'm skipping the line for Noah Thomas. Noah Thomas is skipping the line. I'm predicting an elite season for Noah Thomas. So that's my 3rd elite player. It's been a while. It's been a drought. We finally got someone else in the elite category. Noah Thomas, sir, you are elite. Now go prove me right, please. All right, is this Mark Naboo or Rodas Johnson? That's Naboo. Yeah, that's Rodas Johnson. Okay, this is Rodas Johnson. That's what he looks like. Look at him. Yeah, so Jay Bateman can't stop talking about this guy. Very happy with his development, how quickly he's picking things up, leadership qualities, everything. Rodas Johnson will be a consistent producer off the bench this year. Put him in that same category as Josh Salazar and Jaden Hill. Just a quality depth piece that elite teams have. In this defense, we got 3 of those suckers right here. As long as Jaden Hill, he could be up here, but, he's down here. I want to see it. Florida defense was pretty bad. I want to see it. That's a godsend off the bench. This is what great teams have coming off the bench right here, is these types of players. And even Javen Thomas is that kind of guy. I mean, this defense, man, I'm getting higher and higher on it the more we think about it. This is Rylan Kennedy. You might not know, but that's what he looks like. Look at him. That's Rylan Kennedy. Definitely in the newcomer potential breakout. I've had a video about breakouts. He was on there. This guy could be hand in hand with like that Cassius Howell third down package. He could be a defensive end sub. I think he's kind of surpassed Malik White in the hierarchy. I think he's that good. We saw in the bowl game. He looks amazing in pads right now in practice. He's grown. He's matured up to 245. This is a big year for Rylan Kennedy coming up, and coaches have talked about him. Jay Bateman warned us. You've been warned. This is Solomon DeShields. Look at him. That's what he looks like. Yep. Solomon DeShields will be a consistent producer for this team this year. Second lowest missed tackle percent in the country last year. Now, that was Pitt. Higher level of competition this year. But second lowest at only an 8.8 missed tackle rate last year. Damn good. One of the best rated zone defending linebackers in the country last year. Now, the issue here is that there's much more of a system learning curve apparently for him this year. So the ramp up has been a little bit slow. He's been picking up things slower, but he's still in the discussion for that starting role. At this point, I would say he's on the outside looking in, but he's going to play. He's going to play a lot. I think he could be a solid player off the bench. And look, another one of those guys, another one of those quality pieces off the bench for this defense, man. When you sit back and look at it, it's kind of crazy. All right, now I'm having trouble with Shamar Stewart. This is what I was thinking about before. So I'll just tell you what I'm thinking. He's either improve it or he's cutting the line to elite. So we haven't seen elite from him yet, right? We haven't seen elite from him. Not even in a single stretch of games. I think we've seen a couple games where Noah Thomas was elite. And I let him cut the line. So I think we got to let Shamar Stewart cut the line. We're banking on it. That represents the ceiling to this defense is all 3 of those defensive linemen. You know what I'm talking about. They're all them. They're all him. They all pan out. This is one of the things we're banking on this year. Now, let's just be clear. He's in this category. Just like Noah Thomas is. But I am putting them here because I believe. Is that fair? All right. Come on, Shamar Stu. We need you, man. Shamar Turner, he's either elite or MVP superstar. So we have to decide here, guys. And I'm going to take this by myself because we're not live. We either got to put Shamar Turner or Bryce Anderson up here because there's only 2 per side of the ball. That's my rule. I instilled it. That's the rule. Shamar Turner, going to be a beast. Could be the NFL right now. Going to be a menace. Had a couple discipline problems, right? A couple of unnecessary roughnesses in his career, a couple unsportsmanlike conducts. Hopefully those go away this year. I'm so high on Bryce. The fact that I'm even considering this tells you how I feel about Bryce. Man, I think we got to go D-line, though. I think that's just the duo right there. That's just insanity, and he's honestly up here, too, if he pans out to the highest level. It's just crazy. 3 of your top 4 players are probably on the D-line, right? And this is clear, like the now. We're not talking about young freshmen or sophomores like the last 2 years anymore. We're talking about players in their college prime at this level. We're putting Shamar Turner up here. I mean, honestly, you could put him up here, too, but I'm going to go with Shamar Turner. I just think he's there as a senior and proven, and he is too, but yeah, I'm going to go Shamar Turner. All right, this is Scooby Williams. You saw him in an interview. You probably already know what he looks like. Solid player from Florida. A lot of athleticism. A lot of upside. Like a 9.2 missed tackle rate last year. Really damn good. Had some issues fitting the run. Bad Florida defense. I predict he's the starter at linebacker. I've been saying that. But I think he has a lot to prove coming from that Florida defense. I'll put him in that same category as Jaden Hill. At best, he's a quality starter, but he has a high ceiling, guys. He was like a high 4-star out of high school. Strong, fast. Not the longest, but long enough to be outside linebacker. Great compliment to Torin York. I think all 3 of these guys in Scooby and DeShields and Sanford are great compliments to Torian. And Torian's a mainstay, obviously. We know what he is. We know what he's going to be. But just another guy, at worst, he's off the bench or he's like in a rotational, like what's it called? Like a timeshare at that position. And you got another one of these guys who just kind of fits that quality role. Maybe off the bench, maybe as a starter. Just a quality player, man. And the fact that you have three great options at outside linebacker, whoever wins has to be that much better. Like has earned it and has shown that they can beat out those other two guys. But all of them play, right? And I think they're all going to be able to rotate into Torian's spot. Evident by the fact that I think two of the three are also receiving the helmet comms training that Torian has at middle linebacker. So I think any of those three can slide over to middle as well if they have to. Just really cool stuff. Linebacker room's looking really good. Here he is. Terry Bussey, baby. We're hearing the rumors, man. Playing a lot of offense, a lot of good productive play from Terry Bussey. Really good rumblings, guys. I mean, you don't know what's real or fake out there, but just really good stuff coming from Bussey. Obviously, newcomer, breakout potential, but guys, I'm letting him cut the list. I think he's at least a consistent producer this year, and I think he has to be. He's grown. He's getting close to 200 pounds. He looks ready. He sounds ready. He's going to return kicks. He's going to play receiver. He's going to be in the backfield. They're going to use the hell out of this true freshman, guys. Terry Bussey season's coming, and it's coming earlier than we thought. He's going to be all over the field, and I think he's a consistent producer this season. Now, I don't think you would say he's a starting running back. I don't think you'd say he's a starting receiver, and I don't think he starts. But I think get a few plays in, you drop a Terry Bussey special. A couple plays off, another Terry Bussey special. That's what I'm thinking they're going to do with him early on. They're going to use him. They're going to target him. They're going to lean on him. He's a playmaker. He's going to be a consistent producer for the team this year. Again, I'm letting him cut the line with my excitement and my projection. I look through maroon-colored lenses, guys. He's technically here, but I'm letting him cut the line because that's what I predict. Tyreek Chappelle. Up and down player, but, I don't think he's responsible for the issues that the DB room has had last year. He was a better run defender earlier in his career. He's going to be back in that nickel spot under Elko. I really think he's going to be a consistent producer this year, but he has to prove he's gotten over that hump. Rough year last year. Looked to transfer out for a reason. I think Tyreek has a lot to prove, but I think he's going to have a chance to do it because I think he's going to start and play a lot. So at nickel now, showed to be a really good run defender early in his college career. Can he get back to that form? Prove it player in Tyreek Chappelle. Theo Millen-Nordstrom has some clear breakout potential this year. He's been mentioned by Colin Klein as the other tight end in the room that's not Trey Watson right now. I'll say it again. I think Donovan Green needs more months to get back to form. I think if we're going to see like the same Donovan we saw before, it'll be at the end of this season or maybe even not this season at all. I think he'll be playing more at the midpoint of the year. Donovan Green getting back into the swing of things. Obviously ACL, 20 pounds gained, a lot of time not playing. He needs time to build back up. And in the meantime, Theo Millen-Nordstrom has put on a ton of weight. Looks like a freaking Greek god out there. He looks like Thor himself. He's living up to the nickname right now. Just thick thighs, long body, long arms, sturdy build. And Colin Klein complimented his blocking and what did he say? His leverage. Something about his blocking was complimented by Colin Klein. And Trey Watson, solid blocker, good sealer, but not like a power blocker, not an elite blocker, not a true hybrid tight end. Definitely a receiving tight end. Theo could be that blocking with some catching upside too. I think he's going to play an important role this year. I think he has breakout potential. Torn York, elite. This guy's an elite starter. I don't think he's up here yet. I think he's still young, and he has to overcome his deficiencies, obviously. And it sounds like he's gotten stronger. But this is just a player that's just a godsend to your defense, a coach on the field, an extension of the coaching staff on the field, a player that's just disciplined, sound, technical, the right place at the right time, just a wizard on the field. He's going to make everyone around him better. He's going to clean up the interior run defense with great gap discipline, great discipline overall. And whatever you're lacking potentially in defensive tackle run clogging bodies, I think Torn York can at least somewhat help fill that void with just his great middle linebacker play. Very important player to this team. Very glad to have him back. He's making this linebacker room that lost Edgerrin Cooper a positive once again. Trey Zune, is he elite? He didn't give up a sack last year. Oh, no, he did. He gave up like 1 or 2 sacks last year. I think he only had 1 penalty last year, but is he elite? Are we able to say we can put an offensive lineman in the elite category? It's really hard for me to do that. I know you were a great individual lineman last year, but you were part of a bad offensive line. You were on a bad offensive line last year. So I'm going to put him in the consistent producer category. I can't put him here until this O-line as a whole gets better. But he has this upside, and honestly, so does he. So we'll see what happens there. But what a great piece to have, right? And look, I'm building this out, and I have 3 offensive linemen in the consistent producer category. That feels pretty good. That feels pretty nice. And I think these are 3 guys we're banking on. But here's the thing about the offensive line. 1 weak link can mess it up. 2 weak links can mess it up. Bad pass pro by the running back can mess up pass pro. Bad blocking by the tight end can mess up pass pro. Receivers they can't get open can mess up pass pro. Running backs that don't hit the right hole can mess up run blocking. So just because you have these 3 doesn't mean everything's fixed, but this feels really good. This feels really, really good. This is Will Lee. We saw him talk last week. You probably know what he looks like by now. I think he's a consistent producer as a starter or off the bench. Just another quality guy in the rotation, whether it's a starter coming off the bench. Remember, he was in JUCO. He was only at Kansas State for 1 year last year, kind of in a timeshare there. He has a chance to be this, but he's for sure this year, I believe. He's a major upgrade in this room, probably a day 1 starter in Will the Blanket Lee. Very excited to have him. This is Cam Dewberry, and he has a lot to prove. I'm not trolling you here. Cam Dewberry staying right here in the prove it category. I don't know if he starts, but at worst, he provides experience, depth, coming back from an injury. Had his best stretch of playing the end of his true freshman year on that bad offensive line. He was probably the best player on that O-line down the stretch of the year. Can he get back to form? It would be huge if you could go Naboo, Cam Dewberry, Armage, or Naboo, Cam Dewberry, Fathery. I wish you could do that, but I don't know. I think they have to play Armage. I think Armage has proven that he has to be the guy that plays. But look for him as a quality sub. And Elko already mentioned that they're going to be moving offensive linemen around, probably still deciding who the best 5 are as the season gets going. He said that in the presser. Speaking of the offensive line, we have one more here. Mark Naboo, there's a chance he's right here right now, but I still want to see that top end starter level play from him consistently, moving to right guard from center. He's played both positions, actually. I think he played more guard last year with Bryce Foster around. He just needs to find consistency, right? This new Adam Cushing coached O-line, Colin Klein blocking scheme, gap blocking scheme, run to set up the pass, more diverse running attack, more diverse play calling attack probably with more RPOs, more gap scheme. Screens will happen now, more motion. That's got to help some guys out, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, I feel pretty good about having 3 O-linemen here watching this thing shake out. But did you guys notice the thing? I knew this was going to happen because I kind of went through this before, and I discovered this before I made this list. It's kind of staggering. Someone could get up there. We only ended with 3 players up here, and you had a maximum of 2 on offense, but I was only able to put 1 up here. That is emblematic of what is going on and what our thought process about this offense is going into the year. Who is the high-end playmaker on this offense? Who can be that second guy? I think Connor Wigman gives you that upside. He is the ceiling of the offense, is Connor Wigman, in my opinion. Great, better scheme, hopefully helps. But who's the other guy? Can we get Noah Thomas up here? I mean, who else could it be? Would Chase Basantis become just an absolute anchor on this offensive line? Same thing could be said for Trey Zune. Is that possible? I mean, who is it, man? Is it Terry Bussey? Is Bussey just a freak, a freshman freak breakout type of a player? I don't know. Remains to be seen. Le'Veon Moss has a chance to be up here too. I have Le'Veon down here. I have a lot of prove-it players on the offensive side of the ball right here. We got Jade. He could be up here. We have Moose. Moose could be up here if he's at his highest level all the time. Moss, if he's healthy, I think he's here, but he could even be up here. If he just stays healthy and is Le'Veon Moss that we've seen before all year consistently with the new scheme and improved O-line play, he is absolutely right here. But we need to see him stay healthy. He could be here. But all right, guys, you see what I'm trying to say. We need players to get here and here on the offensive side of the ball. Guys, this defense is going to be special. I have a feeling, man. I mean, Everybody has a feeling this type of year. So my feeling is a dime a dozen. But, guys, I've been burned 2 years in a row. This defense feels like it's going to be pretty damn awesome, guys. But this offense has a lot of answers that need to come. Here's the thing, though. Offensively, I think Connor gives you the ceiling and the floor. I think the fact that you have Connor Wigman out there just makes you a solid offense, average at worst. But is that good enough? Is that good enough against some of the offenses you're going to see this year? Because I think, as good as I feel about this defense, there are about 3 offenses I think could put up numbers, even on a really good defense. And that's LSU, Missouri, and Texas. LSU probably. LSU has a lot more to prove than those other 2. But I think those 3 can make you pay. Even with your defense, you could probably give up 35 points to those teams. I believe that. Can this offense score 40 against, well, 2 of those are bad defenses and a decent defense, or good, decent to good with Texas? Can the offense score 40 against a team like that? Can an offense score 20? What does it take to win versus Notre Dame? Can this offense score 27 points versus Notre Dame? I think if you get to 30, you're winning the Notre Dame game. If you're Notre Dame or Texas A&M. Can the offense do that? You're going to need some people to get up here. So this list kind of just, I went through it naturally. I briefly went through it before I went on. And the same thing happened twice. So let's see who steps up. But guys, what do you think about the list? Like I said, feel free to do it yourself. The link to this exact structure is in the chat. in the description. So do that and tag me on it on X. I want to see what you guys come up with. This is my list. If you disagree with it, please tell me. Tell me what you disagree with. This is just for fun, really. This is my projection. It's built into here. It's how I feel. Guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. I'll see you very soon with some very important videos. We have the Notre Dame preview coming up and my official season prediction. We going 8-4. We going 11-1. We going 9-3. 10-2. What's it going to be? You'll find out this week. Guys, thanks for watching. Gig 'em.